Well, maybe that'll make a big difference, will it? Sound. That will make. Thanks, Camillo. Righto. There you go. I'll start all over again, will I? Friggin' button wasn't pushed down. I do apologise, folks. All right, so start at the top of the show. Shit, right, where did I begin? Hello to Sue, who was Aussie Sue, who was first in. Bloody cold, 9 degrees, I think 8 degrees in Brisbane tonight. I'm going through it much quickly than I did initially. Minus 12.5 was the coldest I saw this morning. I think it was from Armadale. Hello to everybody else who's floating around up there. We'll get past all the bullshit. I said hello to you all before without the microphone turned on, so hello to you all, and let's get back into it. All right, so Intel. I see a lot of you are talking about the trucks and associated other things that are floating around the countryside. That is one there from air. Now, that image was taken yesterday, I want to say, or yeah, it might have been today, but I'm pretty sure it was yesterday. So there have been a lot of movements, a lot of movements coming from America, particularly. Now, we have seen, and I'll try and flick up some photos. Here's a good one. Here's a photo, a bit of an encapsulation of what we have seen. We've seen an Osprey or a couple of them landing in what looks like suburbia. We've seen military on the streets in strange places. Trucks with active denial sound weapon systems. Now, if you do see that video, supposedly from Bakersfield in California, they definitely do have LRADs mounted on the roofs of those vehicles, and they are definitely traveling around suburbia. This is not something you would not ordinarily expect to see, nor with that photo on the right, which you may not be able to make out clearly, but that vehicle with the arrow pointing at it is actually a barbed wire layer. So they drive along and lay wire and other stuff to try and keep the baddies out. Now, yeah, okay, you don't usually see them on the road either, I would grant you. There is a bit of that. Now, on Saturday, I had a bit of carb trouble, so I had to take my car back up to the Sunshine Coast to the dealer I got it from. And I just want to say thank you to Cricks, marvellous folks that they are. They gave me a car. They didn't have to. They gave me a car so that I could get around while they fix this window issue of all bloody things. But anyway, Cricks did a great job. On the way up, saw about 20 vehicles. Military vehicles. Most of those, when I say most, I would say 15 to 18 of those were carrying weapons pods, easily identifiable if you know what you're looking at. And there was a couple of other vehicles that were, if you like, normal trucks, but they were very tarped down, very tightly tarped. In fact, they looked to be brand new vehicles for the most part, and brand new camo coverings. Now, they were heading north as we were heading north to go to the Sunshine Coast on Saturday morning. When we changed our car and came back, pretty much straight away, we came across another 30 vehicles heading north. Now, in that spread out convoy, they weren't all traveling together, but in that spread out convoy, there were all sorts of different things, predominantly, once again, weapons pods. That was the vast majority of the vehicles. So think of a truck with a small container on the back of it, about half the size of a normal container, if you will. And they can outfit those with all sorts of mission capable gear. So all they really have to do is drop one of those out of the back of a plane to a special forces group, and they've got everything they need inside it to do whatever they do, including vehicles. In some cases. So a number of those vehicles. There was also 100,000 litres of jet fuel, I suspect for helicopter use, because you wouldn't really be carrying around A1 jet fuel for jets, because they're not landing out in the middle of nowhere. They can only land at certain runways which already have refueling. And if you were going to refuel it, you'd be using their facilities, not a truck on the side of the runway, although it is possible. But no, these things were rigged to be hooked up under Chinooks and carried out into the mulga somewhere and left so that helicopters could get fuel where and when as required. Now, 100,000 litres, that's a fair amount of fuel. And there was another at least 50,000 that went through earlier in a convoy that I didn't see, that somebody else did and took photos of. So some significance there. The big thing for me was that in spread across these 30 odd vehicles, there might have even been more. were 3 communications vehicles, 3 big communications rigs with satellite communication rigs on them. It's rare that you would need, much less see, 3 of those put together. One of those units is generally enough to look after everybody on our side when it comes to battlefield communications and all that sort of stuff. So to see 3 of them traveling, okay, cool. Yes, exercises do occur, and in Queensland, those exercises mainly occur at Shoalwater Bay, just north of Rockhampton, south of Mackay. It is a live fire range, so they get both jets and helicopters, and anything else that blows up gets thrown at that part of the world on Queensland's coast as well. And it turns out that any platoon or any particular company can go on exercise there at any time for any reason. We've seen some excuses put out in the media, particularly in America, about all these vehicles are just on exercise. Well, they have millions and millions and millions of square miles to exercise on, and do exercise on those areas when they are exercising. It's very rare that you would see something, for instance, like, oh, I don't know, this in New York. So pretty weird that you would see such things driving around the streets in New York, and you can see they're not paying too much attention to the traffic lights. They've got right of way or clear way to go wherever they want to go. Now, those vehicles are troop carriers. The first 2, at least, are troop carriers. The second one is a maintenance vehicle of some kind. It's got a crane on the back of it, used to usually rip motors out of tanks and things like that. What was it doing running around the streets of New York, the tight little back streets of New York? Anybody's guess. I didn't see any American markings on those vehicles at all. Just saying, just one thing. But maybe all is not as it seems. That's in Ohio. That was filmed in Ohio, and a little bit of digging would, well, you would probably go to the local TV news station, be the first place I would go to, and you might look back at their news reports and discover that the locals' reserves, the Army Reserve, were moving bases. And there was a big news story done that they were going to be moving everything that was on one base a number of kilometers over to another base on the other side of town, for instance. And they were going to take a very defined route. There was a big news story done on it. So that's where that one comes from.
Bring
this
in the
one,
boy.
I'll play that one because I want to try and save you a bit of angst and aggravation if I possibly can. So that's just a heap of military stuff in Mexico. What's so weird about that? We've seen plenty of stuff on the streets of Mexico before. I guess it is that it's all concentrated in what seems to be one of the cities. There are many very big cities, obviously, in Mexico. They're not very worried about being attacked wherever they are because they are cheek by jowl in that street and very easy target if the cartels were going to go and have a go at them. So, yeah, not so flash. Maybe there is a big movement going on in Mexico, but could that also be related to the cartels and the current crisis on the border with the United States? Who knows? But we're jumping to conclusions to all think it has something to do with the white hats and, all great things going on in the world when it comes to Donald Trump, or at least the numpty in control of the White House at the moment, or at least sitting in the fake White House, is going to be shown the door fairly shortly, and the corruption will be exposed. I think all that is coming. What you are seeing, yes, in some cases, will be troops being moved into places where they suspect or they will need to be able to put in choke points. There is one video that I've watched. I'm not going to play the whole lot because it's nearly 4 minutes long, but you may have seen a portion of this video.
Check it out. Check it out. See what we got coming.
So this train was passing east to west, apparently, and it's in Midwest America. I've got to say, there must be 300 or more vehicles on this train. Some of those, you will notice, are very low class flat-top mining type vehicles that can carry loads low ground. Just pointing that out. It's a bit weird to have those big military type. These things are mine clearing units and bridge layers. I'm not sure if that's a bridge layer or a mine clearing unit.
It's heading west, not towards Cuba.
Here's a little bit of weaponry. All stones to carry, bulldozers, burying or unburying. These are main battle tanks. Now, okay, I can already that there is an awful lot of equipment on this particular train. I mean, seriously, it runs 4 minutes long, this video, and it is non-stop, this kind of equipment, all the way through. You get some very interesting special forces band here. Bit of things as well. Watch the black four-wheel drive and hang out the side of that. So operators fire out the front of the vehicle as well, or out the back. They can pop out of and come down some on there. So these are well, some of them at least are special forces vehicles. All of them are pretty low. They're all armoured, and there's a hell of a lot of them. What can you say? I'll pull that up there, but you get the idea. It's just going on and on and on and on and on. So where's it going? Well, it could be a base relocation. It could be, the start of what we want to have started. But I haven't seen enough military on the streets here in Australia to suggest that there's going to be any great lockdown. They haven't been parking their equipment in warehouses or anywhere else around the countryside, keeping out of view. There's too many people watching. So, look, all I'm going to say right now is don't get too carried away. However, I do think this week is going to be a big week. John Durham takes the stand, tomorrow, in America for a closed door session with the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, he will front again the next day, and I'm pretty sure it's for an open hearing with the House Committee. Now, we probably won't learn names, dates, and places out of the first hearing because it is a closed hearing. But the second one will be open to the public, and you can be bloody sure that Jim Jordan and associated others will be all over that. Durham has the dirt, and Durham could well start opening indictments while he's talking to Congress. There are still a number of closed indictments yet to be served on many people, including Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, everybody in that administration, I suggest, and maybe a few others. We are going to see, and remember, if we are a Q follower, then remember that there is a big drop about Durham, and Durham's first arrest will stun the world, was the quote. Durham's first arrest will stun the world. Now, we believe Durham's already been out arresting people, or at least his prosecutors have, and we believe some of those people have already been dealt with at various different tribunals. God willing, that's wonderful if that is the case. But this Durham report is either going to be the biggest fizzer or the biggest news so far of the year. And if it's played right, if it has, and I've read the Durham report now entirely, and the level of detail that they go into to expose the corruption, to expose the absolute wanton bias is staggering. Durham has caught everyone, absolutely everyone. It's amazing. And I will be blown away to see the results of that in, well, hopefully the coming days. But I suspect those results are going to be coming for maybe years ahead. Jack Dorsey's in a bit of trouble. You might remember him from Twitter. Well, looks like there might be some more interesting Elon Musk files coming out. Imagine how people will react when they learn that Twitter Jack set up a long string hashtags that, when combined with being in certain user groups, private lists, it unhides real-time child rape galleries and human trafficking markets. So what they're suggesting with that is that Jack set up these long string hashtags. So if you happen to know the right string and you could put all that together, and you happen to be on a private list, you are a user known within these circles, able to be put on that private list, then just by using your Twitter account, you could log in and watch real-time child rape galleries and human trafficking markets. Participate in them, I'm sure. So, like I say, Jack Dorsey's in a bit of trouble. But I got to tell you, folks, there is some other interesting news when it comes to people who are in trouble. I'm going to read you a reply from the ABC. A request was, well, let's go into this and read this together, shall we? It's, dear whoever you were, this decision came down on the 15th of June. I refer to your email sent Sunday the 28th of May seeking access under the Freedom of Information Act 1982, copy of all contracts and a list of the remuneration received by Ita Buttrose or the ABC in relation to the attached Pfizer advertising campaign. A decision on your request is due by that date. So they have replied, no documents were found to exist under those particular sections of the Act. Access is considered to be refused. Material taken into account. In making the decision, I have considered the scope of your request, the content, the documents requested, the FOI Act, the guidelines issued by the Office of the Australian Information Commissioner under the sections appropriate. Anyway, locating and identifying documents. The search for documents included approaching the ABC's chair's office and the company secretary team. I considered all reasonable steps were taken to identify and locate relevant documents that answer your request. I am satisfied that the searches conducted were thorough and all reasonable steps have been taken to locate the documents relevant to your request. I am satisfied that no documents exist. Next page. Reasons for decision. The documents requested relate to an arrangement Miss Ita Buttrose has independent of the ABC. The chair of the ABC board is a part-time role. As the advertising campaign is not related to that role or the ABC holds no documents about it. Let that sink in. What does that mean? The documents The ABC don't have any documents related to the advertising schedule on the ABC. Pfizer are running ads on the ABC and have been for some time. Instead, the Freedom of Information Officer at the ABC has decided to tell us where we best go and look. Ordinarily, they would never do such a thing. But this one has pointed us in the direction of Ida Buttrose herself taking or being the point person for this advertising campaign that's happening on our ABC. Now, most of you who work in sales-related areas would understand, particularly if you work in electronic sales, you work on commission. You might be lucky enough to get a base wage, but on top of that, it won't be much, and you'll get a percentage of every sale that you make. I have no doubt Ida Buttrose received quite a, well, tip, would we call it? No, we wouldn't call it a tip. We'd call it a commission, wouldn't we? For brokering a deal to get the Pfizer ads on the ABC. Clearly no production required. She just turned up with it on a USB drive one day, I'm sure, or told somebody to download it from a secure facility, and voila, there is your commercial. How much was Ida Buttrose paid to get Pfizer all over the screens of our ABC and to tell us lies, to push the propaganda that Pfizer themselves were pushing, the lies that Pfizer themselves have been proven now to have been telling? In fact, more documents have been released in the last 48 hours or so, indicating that there are 5.6 million adverse events recorded so far just by Pfizer against their jibbity jab. 5.6 million worldwide. They range from, serious to terminal. And there are a lot of them that are terminal. Dr. Peter McCulloch came out, was asked in a session, I think, in front of Congress a couple of days ago about the latest death figures. And he cited the latest figures available in Australia through New South Wales. Now, those figures are absolutely staggering. Absolutely staggering. The number of unexplained deaths in this country. And they wouldn't be unexplained if things like the falsification of autopsies or death certificates hadn't been allowed by our government and our health department. Our health department is so deeply corrupted and so deeply culpable for those sorts of actions and every other action that was put against us in the last 3 or 4 years. And it continues today. I know just a story I received today from a friend who told me that this person had been working wonderfully with the system, the health system. They are a nurse of 40 years standing, had taken 3 of the jabs willingly and then refused to take the 4th and was terminated on the spot. 40 years of nursing thrown out the door on the spot. 40 years of experience thrown out the door on the spot because she stood up for herself and said, I'm not having the 4th. I've seen what happens. Had enough. Well, the health system still says, fuck you. We are going to keep pushing the lie. And if you're going to be in our system, you are going to keep pushing the lie, whether you like it or not. God, I can't wait for the day we hang those bastards. I really can't. Speaking of people we might like to hang one day, you know who this bloke is? This is the bloke known as the architect of The Voice. He helped put The Voice together. I know that sounds very impressive, doesn't it? He helped put The Voice together. But the fact of the matter is, this guy's a bit of a wild card. His name is Thomas Mayo. He uses terms like pay the rent, for example. Now, how do we do that in a way that is transparent and actually sees reparations and compensation to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people beyond what we would say and do at a rally, is his question. The Pay the Rent campaign wants homeowners to voluntarily pay a percentage of their income to Aboriginal elders without any government oversight or intervention. That's what Pay the Rent is. That's what this bloke wants to push with the yes vote, right? He is the architect of the yes vote. The power in the voice is that it creates the ability for First Nations to then go forth with coherent positions on how things should be, what legislation needs to be created, what legislation needs to be amended, what funding is needed and where, and, get this, and punish politicians that ignore our advice. Punish politicians who are going to follow the people's advice, you would hope, the people that elected those politicians. But oh no, this bloke, Mayo, says that the voice, once entrenched in our constitution, will be able to punish the politicians that ignore them. He also pointed out that unlike ATSIC, which was shut down because of its massive corruption, the voice couldn't be shut down because it would be enshrined in the Constitution, nor could it be voted out by the Australian people during elections. So how good's that? He's identified that they can't do to this what they did to ASIC. They shut ASIC down. You know, that was bad. Well, it was bad because the bastards running it were robbing us blind, and not just us, but their own people. They were shorting their own people, killing their own people. Their own greed. That's what ATSIC was. Hello, Jeff Clark, you bastard. And more. There are others. But anyway, this prick seems to think that, well, they can't shut ASIC down. That's a good thing. They can't shut the voice down. That's a good thing. It'll be enshrined in the Constitution. And of course, Jacinta Price has commented. She's pretty shocked about the revelations, and she wants people to understand that this kind of bloke represents the aggressive and the radical agenda behind the yes vote. It is there, the yes vote is there to destroy once and for all the myth that this massive change to our Constitution is a modest request. It is nothing like a modest request. It is nothing like it. Vote no. At all costs, vote no. Let me have a bit of a glance down, see what else I've got here tonight. There's been a couple of interesting, pardon me, a couple of interesting things have popped up. We started the show at 6:30, didn't we? So that would give us then about 5.5 hours until this prediction is meant to come true. So there has been a prediction out now for a week or so that California will undergo an earthquake on the 20th of June. It will be between 4.0 and 6.0, and they seem very confident of the dates. So if you happen to know anybody in Los Angeles, you might want to wake them up. Maybe not just yet. Right now, what's the current time? Just after 7, so it's just after 2 a.m. in the morning there at the moment. So give it another 4 hours, or at least 3.5. If you've got people in LA, you might want to ring them and tell them to go and stand in the bathroom or something, whatever you do in an earthquake. So that is the prediction for Los Angeles for today. It'll be a doozy if it comes off, and I think if it does come off, you will see financial banks, financial systems falling, and it could well be that all that military stuff we've been talking about really is being set up for this particular thing to happen. God hope. I hope so. Now, I want to share with you a story that I nearly vomited a coffee up over when I read this. Gay penguins, Sven and Magic help children understand sexuality syllabus. I shit you not. I'm going to read this to you because it is It is beyond belief. And this twerp writing it, Rebecca Borg, I mean, she looks like she's 11 and has the mentality of that sort of writing. Madly in love penguins, Sven and Magic, are giving New South Wales children as young as 4 an insight into same-sex relationships after the openly gay couple successfully raised their chick, Lara. Remember those highlighted phrases there, will you, folks? Now, guess who they're going to feed this shit to? Kindergartners to grade 2 aged kids will be given the opportunity to learn the couple's story as part of a new New South Wales syllabus that educates children on sexuality and consent. Sea Life Aquarium, where the Antarctic birds reside, has corruptorated, I was going to say, has collaborated with the state's Teachers Federation, that bunch of fucking raven. Anyway, to help young people understand how different relationships work. It'll be beautiful, won't it? Look at that. Just, God. The Facebook post written by the Federation addressed to the teachers says a number of exercises based on the 5 years strong same-sex penguin couple will be available as resources to educate children on the topic. Members can access a unit of work about Sea Life Sydney Aquarium's same-sex penguin couple, Sven and Magic, aligned with the New South Wales syllabus in the Knowledge Centre section of the members' portal. The unit of work can be used in its entirety, or learning activities can be used as standalone activities or part of your program. What do? Get a double-ended butt plug and go and try and catch yourself a penguin? I don't know. Sven and Magic haven't left each other's side since 2018, with the pair developing a strong bond over time. Anybody who knows anything at all about penguins know that penguins develop strong bonds with other penguins. They don't have to be male or female, but humans develop strong bonds and don't have to be gay. How many men do you know that have still got mates they grew up with, go out and have beers with, and, you know, look after the kids with on a regular basis? I can name plenty. Anyway, when the breeding season came around, listen to how they fell in love. This is beautiful. When the breeding season came around, their keepers didn't want the pair to feel left out. So, rather than give them a female to mate with, they taught them how to incubate a dummy egg after building their own nest out of pebbles. Oh, God, it's so sweet. The pair took such great care of the fake egg that their keepers allowed them to foster a real one to see if it would hatch. What the fuck happens in real life? Male penguins nurture eggs to hatching. Fuck me. God. Anyway, thanks to their teamwork and the endless love, the pair hatched a baby, and they've called it Svengic. Anyway, now it's known as Lara. He probably wanted a name change. Couldn't have a sex change. Could it have a feather change? I don't know. How's that work? Penguin supervisor at Sea Life Sydney Aquarium, Kiara Ponting, said Sven and Magic's story will help children better understand the syllabus as they can relate to animals. Right. So are you going to train the kids that 2 boys can be put together, they can have a baby thrown at them, and the baby will either die or not if they decide to look after it? You reckon you'd get the same results if you gave the baby to a couple of males? Humans, I mean. This is the most pathetic. Oh, God. If I was gay, I would vomit rainbows at these people at the moment, quite seriously. You are giving gay people a bad, bad, bad name. Gay fucking penguins that you trained. You trained. Oh, yeah. They bonded together. Of course they bonded together. You gave them a fucking toy to play with, you idiots. Fuck me. This is the kind of bullshit our newspapers report today. God almighty. It is absolutely beyond awful. Anyway, I'm going to finish up on something else that's just as beyond bloody awful, and it's happening in far north Queensland. Queensland Labor are handing back the Cohen Biosecurity Centre on Cape York. That's going back to the local Aborigines. It happens at the end of this month. It will not be replaced anywhere. So what, I hear you say? Well, the Cairns News have raised a big flag about this, and rightfully so. The local member up there, Cynthia Lee of the Yam Island, is never around. She is very difficult to get a hold of, and nobody can get any answers from her. Cynthia was pretty absent during some recent uprisings up north, and, well, generally not around to be asking questions of or getting answers from, which is a bit of a problem. Anyway, Cape York has a lot of issues, as we all know. There's alcoholism, there's drug abuse, poor nutrition. But what about biosecurity? The only biosecurity place that we have in this country, in the far north of our country, to try and protect our land, our agriculture, from anything that could be coming in from New Guinea, particularly from Indonesia, I guess. All of that's gone. We have no biosecurity in far north Queensland anymore. Now, this may or may not be a thing. I don't know much about biosecurity other than it's probably good that you have good biosecurity. If there is this, and there is obviously a centre up there, there's pictures of it, what have they been doing there in their little biosecure lab? You have to think, if you've not been to Cape York, it's a long way from anywhere. And if you were going to be working on anything dangerous, that would be the place to work on it. Because, well, if it didn't die the moment it got out of the petri dish, it might die in the 52-degree heat outside, or it might die when it got into some animal that couldn't host it or whatever. There is nothing very friendly about far north Queensland in the heat and all that. The people, absolutely magnificent. The scenery, absolutely stunning. But it has its trials and tribulations, wet and dry. Why are we getting rid of this biosecurity centre? Maybe it's just too old, but why is it not being replaced? We've got everything else. I know we have a lot of... I now know we have a lot of Border Force ships, and when I was in Cairns, I did a bit of a drive around the docks there, and there are a ton of them, like there were 10 or more, tied up or in various states of repair. Some getting new engines, some, one had a whole side ripped out of it. Meaning to, I think they were working on it, they didn't crash it. But I imagine there is a lot of area to cover, so that's why they have so many ships. We also have the Navy. We also have the Coast Watch aircraft covering our shores. So, in theory, nothing should get in. Why did we have that biosecurity lab there in far north Queensland? Very interested to find that out. Very interested to find that out. Yeah, Alan, what a very good comment. I think ITA is, yes, got a lot of questions to answer, and I wonder whether or not any of Ben Fordham's friends are in the chat tonight or watching the show. Maybe they can get a hold of Ben and get him to ask the question of ITA, because I'm pretty confident she won't answer my calls. We'd like to find out exactly how much ITA got paid for putting the Pfizer ads on our ABC. The one we get paid, we pay to put on there. Ordinarily, you would think, being shareholders, and every one of you is a shareholder of the ABC, or you're meant to be, any multi-million-dollar payments for advertising from a client, you would think would come back our way, or at least be put back into programming. But that doesn't appear to be the case. It appears to have gone to ITA to do with whatever ITA decided to do. There's a song. Oh, ITA. Not good. I think we're going to have a few issues there, and it's going to be concerning for the media industry as a whole when a lot more of it comes out. In fact, we haven't spoken about it in a while, but I want to make sure that you are aware. And if you've got sales reps coming into your business trying to sell you any kind of advertising, whether it be electronic or print, you tell them you're not paying tax. You tell them you're not paying any sales tax or GST tax on them at all. You tell them what you're prepared to pay for the ads they're going to sell you, because they've already been subsidized by the government right now to the tune of a bit over $81 million. But the media company that is trying to convince you to buy those ads for your business isn't paying tax. All right, it's got 12 months tax-free. tax rebate. So while they might pay it, they will get it back. And that is how the media have been bribed into not allowing truth to come out their transmitters or get printed on their pages. That is why they are so vehemently shouting down anybody who has the opposite of the message that they have been paid very handsomely by the government and Pfizer's and other bio companies, big pharma companies. They have been paid millions and millions and millions of dollars on. And of course, the owners of those companies are going to keep it all. If the employees aren't told, how are you going to know that, you as a lowly copywriter or a producer or a sales rep? Every one of you is due your share of that money. Every one of you. All right? Because your bosses did nothing for it. They didn't suffer nearly as badly as you did for it. And let's face it, we've suffered a lot more for it than you did. So feel good about taking that money, won't you? I hope you live long enough to spend it. I somehow have my doubts. So the last thing I want to touch on today is frequency. So late last week, I was starting to feel a bit down. I was starting to feel like the voice of freedom had lost its impact. It was losing its way. I think I was being affected by other things, extraneous things I really wasn't aware of. But I woke up yesterday morning and I felt a real shift in me, a real shift inside me, like my vibration had changed. And within a couple of hours, I started seeing messages coming through from one friend in particular down south who just posted something up about herself, about her frequency. And she has some way of measuring the sunlight frequency. And yesterday, we've seen a huge lift in the frequency of our sunlight. And it seems to be a constant change. It's gone from what was something that's been that way for years and years and years to now something much larger and shows no signs of fading. I'm wondering if that's what I'm feeling. So I'd be interested if anybody else feels that. I'm not what you'd call the most spiritually attuned person or into those sorts of feelings, but I definitely felt yesterday that there was a change. And today there has been great positivity in my world, can I just say. Had a great meeting. We've discussed some really good ideas for the Voice of Freedom going forward. We've discussed ways that we can fund that. And I'm feeling very, very positive about it. And the only reason that we are even having these conversations is because of you, because of the support that you've shown me. So thank you for that. We need that to continue for a little while yet, because we need to get a few things sorted so that we can take the Voice of Freedom up another level of frequency, another level of vibration. We want to bring more to you. We want to bring much more information, much more intel. But also we want to bring stories that benefit you, things you can learn from. Maybe it might be learning how to plant something. It might be learning how to build something. It could be learning how to present something. Nothing is off the table. And there is a great group of people now who want to get around the Voice of Freedom and help promote it. And I can't thank them enough for the support that they're getting in and showing me. At the end of the day, it's me they're backing, and I'm finding that hard to swallow. Never had people want to do that before, so it's humbling. So thank you to those people who've stepped up so far. We need more people to step up. So if you can help, if you do want to be a part of something that is much bigger, then I would love to talk to you, and I will tell you where we're going with it. And hopefully sooner rather than later, you will see some small changes beginning. But from those small changes, big things are coming. I can promise you, big things. And those big things, in part, will be part of you, because we can't do this without you. I've always done this show in mind of you, for you. It's about time, if I keep saying it is your voice, the voice of freedom is your voice, use it. Well, it's about time you were given a place and a way to use it. So that's what we're working on. Something like that will be a little something for everybody. If you can help, then please go to the website, vofhq.com. There is a donate button there. That's the easiest way to help us out with a few bucks. And we do need a bit of money coming in. There are certain large things that we need to purchase to get this thing happening. We have certain monies committed, which is great. We're a bit short. So hopefully we can raise some of that through you guys and through other means. Maybe through limerick writing. Who knows? If you're any good at it, maybe if you're not any good at it, you can still have a go at it. We're running the limerick competition at the moment, where you can win a 10-ounce bar of silver, all thanks to Paul and the crew at Ainsley Bullion. And thanks to Cass and her crew at Freedom Financial Solutions, we have 3 runners-up prizes, and that'll be a 1-ounce silver coin each. Now, we're looking for limericks. Now, your limerick must include either Voice of Freedom, or VoF, Ainsley, or Ainsley Bullion, or Freedom Financial Solutions, or you can just call them FFS if you find that easier to rhyme. Now, entries are open until the 30th of June, so we've got 10 days left. We will judge those entries in the first week of July and announce a winner toward the end, or maybe in the first week of July, I think, because I hear from a little bird that Cass might be coming to Queensland, and we might then go into Ainsley Bullion's head office in Brisbane and announce the winners there with Paul. So that might be the second week of July. But we will get that happening, but only people who have entered. You've got to be a member, first of all. So that's easy. You can join at vofhq.com from as little as $1.25 a week, and that gets you in this draw. Well, it doesn't. It gets you halfway in the draw. The other half is writing a limerick. So we had to make it a competition of skill. Otherwise, it opens up a whole nest of legal shit we've got to jump through. But this is the easiest way and most legal way we can give you the opportunity to win some silver. And hopefully there'll be a lot more of it in the not too distant future. If you would like to win this 10-ounce bar of silver, come up with a limerick. They are not that hard. I did have a couple that I prepared earlier. Ainsley Bullion will give a good rate if you're buying or selling some weight. Some silver or gold or that platinum billfold, Ainsley Bullion is best for you, mate. Control of your wealth is key. Invest wisely with advice and see. Be it silver or gold, you're bound to behold control of your wealth via Ainsley. I got really creative that day. What's this one? A city of face masks and heathens, coerced and berated by leaders. But the people fought back against the medical hacks and found strength in their voice of freedom. And there you go. That's the list on how you write a limerick. AABBA. That means the 2 front lines, AA lines, have got to rhyme. The 2 B lines have got to rhyme, and then the A has to rhyme back with the first 2 lines again. Limericks are not hard to write, folks. Have a bit of fun with it. And Cass and Paul and Vince will be judging our winners early next month. We'd love to have you as part of that. All right, folks, so I'm going to love you and leave you for tonight. I will tell you a little later on in the week, Bob is coming on. I don't know. Bob's got a cheer squad. I have received, I think, in the last 3 days, more emails about Bob than I have about troop movements. So I was just speaking to Bob earlier, and Bob will be on Friday night. We are going to have another chat about Antarctica. We're going to have another chat about UFOs and some of the things that he's seen in his flying around days with the New Zealand Air Force. And boy, has Bob seen a lot. So look forward to that. That's coming up on Friday night. Tomorrow. Now, I'm catching up with an old pirate tomorrow. Might be able to get him on for the show if he's up for a chat. I would point out to you folks, if you have the opportunity, please go to our website, vofhq.com, and have a look at the log of claims. If you haven't already done so, we are looking for your feedback on that. Now, the log of claims is something that John's prepared. It's something to give the freedom movement a direction. If we can all agree to the points in the log of claims, then that gives us a direction to move forward on. Now, conspicuous in their absence of talking about the log of claims have been a number of these alt media types in this country. I find that a little bit concerning because this is designed to bring us all together. Very sad that it hasn't been able to happen that way. But then when you see stories like what happened yesterday with a gentleman from the, oh God, it's just gone straight, Infected Blood Group, I beg your pardon. Charles from the Infected Blood Group reached out to Dave Onegs and apparently has been trying to reach out to Dave Onegs for a while. And Dave was too busy surfing or doing other good things to bother talking to him, and eventually told him in no uncertain terms, pretty much to fuck off. Charles did a video of that and put that up yesterday. And I see at some point today Onegs has replied. I really don't follow Dave Onegs at all. I really don't care what he does. As far as I'm concerned, he's taken money from people and bought jet skis with it. And that's why the surf's so good. He likes to go jet skiing. He likes to go surfing. And the only reason or time he has for we the people is when there is no surf, when he doesn't have anything better to do, or he feels like he's got to try and top up his cash coming in from the paywall. So I don't know. If I was one of those people who'd already signed up for the paywall, I'd be looking to take my money back off it. You can't go treating people like Charles like that. I did reach out and said I would have Charles on the show tonight, but I haven't heard back from him. So I hesitate to say that he's doing to me what Onegs did to him. But anyway, I'll keep reaching out. I know a few people from my side have, so the door is open here. And if they want to come on and have a bit of a chat about the Infected Blood Group, then I'm more than happy to talk about that. If you're unaware of what the Infected Blood Group is, it's a support group, been going for decades, based around people who were given AIDS or Hep C from blood transfers. Through no fault of their own, they picked up infected blood and changed their lives forever. Now, it's a point that raises itself again right now, particularly for me, because we've heard so much information about the jibbity jab and that the AIDS virus is inside that. It is part of the mix. So there might be a number of people who've gone out on the back of hearing that news and had STD tests done and discovered that they are now HIV positive. And that would be because of the jibbity jab, no other reason. So the Infected Blood Group is a support group designed to help those who are dealing with the effects of gaining infected blood that changes their life, in some cases shortens it. Although now, of course, AIDS is not a death sentence like it once was. I lost a cousin to AIDS. One of my cousins passed away back in the mid-'80s, and it was an awful death. His liver and kidneys blew up. His whole immune system shut down. Yeah, it was pretty awful. I also happen to know, she's a bit older now, but the story I'll tell you is about a 4-year-old girl who was at kinder, and she fell over, scun her knee, and was bleeding. One of her teachers came up and was obviously going to help her and clean her up a little bit. And this little girl took charge. She knew that there was something wrong with her blood. This little girl has Hep C, had it from birth, and well, more or less from birth, and she's been brought up with it. So her parents have drummed into her, that her blood is different. But that little 4-year-old had to explain to a kindergarten or daycare teacher that she couldn't help her that it was okay. Could she just go and get some napkins and some Band-Aids, and that she'd look after it herself? So the support group deals with families like that, and I think they need all the support and help they can get. Charles does seem to believe that the government have been withholding funds due to these people that have been awarded to them. The government are withholding them. Isn't that always the way? The government likes to withhold money, particularly if it thinks the people they're going to give it to are going to pass away anytime in the, well, it doesn't have to be near future, near to middle term future they'd be happy with. They can screw you around for that long. So hopefully he does get back to me and we can have a further conversation about that. Tomorrow, I suspect, is going to be pretty interesting with leaks coming out of America. The Durham, I think that's probably going to be the big news this week, the Durham sittings in Washington, D.C. That is, of course, unless there is an earthquake in 4 hours' time in California. I'm pretty sure that'll dominate the news there for quite some time. But anyway, I will be back tomorrow night, and there might be an old pirate around for a bit of a chat too. Who knows? We'll see what comes of it. And if you are going to be out on the roads, then please be safe doing the things that you do. Thank you so much, Sunflower. I appreciate every bit, everything that you do, and every cent that you throw my way by sticker is greatly appreciated. Same for you all, folks. If you're throwing a sticker, or if you're going to vofhq.com and making a donation, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We are putting something together that means we will be on the road in the not too distant future. There are trips planned for north, south, and west, I guess is the best way of describing it. So we look forward to coming to your town and setting up with what will be a different show. Working on putting something together that is of more use to you when I come to town than me just turning up and doing one of these sorts of shows. I struggled a bit some while ago with the way we do the show, the way I was putting these live shows together. I want to make that better for you. I want to make that a much more enjoyable, much more impactful, meaningful thing for you to come along to. So you can learn something, or maybe you might already know it. You might learn something new about it, or you might learn some other facts to reinforce your knowledge. You might learn a position that you can present to friends of yours that helps sway them. It is all about education, what I'm trying to do here, folks. It's trying to wake people up. But I've given up trying to wake up the normies. Now what I'm trying to do is help people who want to help others wake up and who will be there when their eyes are peeled open. That's where I see we are going to struggle. Our immediate struggle will be with those around us who don't believe us, who feel foolish, who feel humbled. And I've been saying this for years. Those people who've called us the fools, who've called us all the names under the sun, they're the ones that are all of a sudden going to have to realize that, when that fat bastard Liebold said, I failed the IQ test, I now understand what he means. It's not meant as a slight. We were all meant to fail the IQ test. Some of us didn't for some reason. The position that those who failed it took is an embarrassing one. The fact that they ostracized not just members of their community and their friends, but they were prepared to do some heinous things to those people out of fear of catching a cold because the government said so. Those people are going to be very upset, very dangerous. So we need to be ready and prepared to help them deal with the realities that are coming. And we aren't even prepared for all the realities that are coming. We've talked before about us being all reading the same book, but we're all on different pages. And hopefully, since the first time you heard me say that, you're a few more pages up toward the end, and I hopefully am a few more pages closer to the end, but nobody can see the end of the book yet. The more times we talk about it, the more times we review what's already happened, it makes it easier for you to share that with folks around a coffee or a fire or a beer or a barbecue, and not in a way where you're shoving it down people's throats, but just asking questions of them and seeing what their answers are. Oh, what do you think about all that military movement over the weekend? Oh, well, nothing. I saw it on the news. They said they were moving from base to base. Okay, well, you've got to accept that at face value. We don't know that they're not doing just that. We hope and pray that they are doing a lot more than that, but that's all we can do at the moment. Yes, there are plenty of signs, but does that mean it's all going to start collapsing in the next couple of days? I don't know. There are those triggers, but the Durham reports were meant to be triggers for the last 2 years, and there's been nothing. So I hope to God when the final Durham report stuff does come out, that it is a trigger, that it does start something massive, and it must be with arrests. It must be with significant arrests. And there we go back to that Q drop, which if I was more into Q, I'd be able to quote you the exact time and date and place. But I can't, so I apologize. But it's important. So Q was on it. If we can believe that, then this Durham showdown is going to be very important. I would expect after 2 days of testimony, and I believe those days are Wednesday, Thursday American time, then Friday or maybe even Thursday afternoon, we should start seeing arrests. I can't imagine that Durham is going to drop anything too big and then not do anything immediately afterwards, because if he's going to drop something in front of the Congress or the Senate, then those people he drops it on are going to know that he's coming and they're going to want to get out of the way real quick. So I dare say he would already have people watching them, if not already got them in custody. The Durham report, I think, is going to be the big thing to watch this week. Don't be too worried about troop movements, where they're going, who they're doing. There was I saw one lot of people get terribly excited about seeing a number of ospreys flying over them in formation, in California. Well, of course. You don't see them all over the place, but there was a big air show on last weekend in California too. Maybe they were there at that. I don't know, not making excuses. Just don't look at these videos and assume it's a flock of ospreys flying off to war. All right. There is another great, in fact, I'm going to have a picture of it. Did I don't think I did, because I found it just so incredulous. There was must be a still picture. Give me a sec. I'll see if I can find it. There is a still picture somewhere I have of another trainload of arms. Now, this is purported to be American vehicles lined up on a train siding, waiting to be shuffled off, over to California for some reason. They're not American vehicles. They're German vehicles. It's in a German forest. So don't get too excited when you see these, little snippets of things. The two Osprey that were coming in and landing at in what looked like a suburban park or something like that weren't. They were landing on a reserve military base. So that's not uncommon. It might be uncommon that they, land Ospreys there, but it's not uncommon for aircraft to land there, or helicopters at least to land there. Did we see anybody get out of or get into those helicopters? So while it's all well and good to see these things coming down and landing in suburban areas, do we see the backup video? Do we see them disgorging 30 bloody armed Marines who run out and immediately disappear off into suburbia? No, we don't see that. Are we seeing people in shrouds, hoods, and handcuffs being led back to those machines by Marines armed to the hilt, and then having them thrown in the back or in the side door and these things taking off? No, we're not. So don't leap to conclusions. It just leads to confusion about what you're seeing. These snippets are being shown to us, yes, but shown to us by whom and for what reason? We've all got our hopes built up before. on much less than what we're seeing now, admittedly. But don't build your hopes up. Don't get too excited. The white hats are not here to save you. You have to save you. We have to save us. All right? The white hats will come along for the ride. But just don't get caught up in those short type videos showing, military stuff moving from A to B. What you want to see is the end results of that. If it's helicopters coming in and landing behind trees, why didn't they have somebody else with a camera over there taking pictures of who was getting out of it, or who was getting put into it, or what they were landing on? Ask yourself these questions and you'll find it's a lot easier to be let down in the end. The other question, or the other thing I would ask you to consider doing, is have another think about the last paragraph of what Ida Buttrose there has been doing with the money for the ads she bought for the ABC, or she had placed on the ABC. It doesn't sound like the ABC had anything at all to do with it. All came from the chair. How much money? Oh, Ida. I think there are some questions there to answer, baby. Some questions there to answer. All right, folks, you have yourselves a fabulous night. Don't do anything wild and outrageous. I won't if you don't. That should make it pretty clear. And tomorrow night, same time, same place. Be safe on the roads. Watch out for the dickheads. I saw a couple of them out there today. Dodge, too.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!